Well, hello. Welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. I'm Christel, and if I haven't met you before, nice to meet you. I'm an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator, and this show, the reason I called this show my name, do you guys know the reason I called this show my name? Because I knew that if I tried to think about the name of this show, hi guys, that I would not do it. So I just called it my name and called it a day, and here you guys are, and here we get to be together every single week. So on this show, for those of you guys that are new, I go into a topic and blatantly use the Access Consciousness tools and my own stories to sort of illustrate something that I hope in some way will contribute to you. So welcome. Hi guys, I see you all. So for those of you guys listening on Spotify, iTunes, I actually go live on Facebook every week, so the audio is not as pro as it could be, but fuck it, we're doing the thing. Hi Sylvia, hi Rebecca, hi Michael, hi Christiane, hi Beata, hey, hi Karen, hi Kim. Okay, so I called this week's episode, Why Ask Yourself Bigger Questions? This week I have coming out into the world, I was actually just meeting with my Facebook ads manager, a 5-day business challenge that I'm calling Relentless Profit. And me and my team spent a week putting this challenge together for you guys. And I'm so proud of it and I'm so excited about it. And the whole 5-day challenge is built around asking yourself different questions, not just like, in Access Consciousness, we talk a lot about, asking questions, and I'll talk more about that. Hi guys, hi Margot, hi Rebecca, hi Susie. But for this challenge, I actually wove together a couple of elements that I've been playing with in my own life of really being present with you, asking yourself different things so that you can be present with you in a different way, and the elements of sort of journaling and like getting stuff out of your head. So anyway, just keep your eyes peeled for that. It's coming this week. I'm so excited to invite you to it. But I wanted to talk today about asking questions and why the hell you would do that, what it's been doing for me, and how you use it. Okay, so this is a tiny bit. I'm going to read to you just a tiny section out of a book that I've been studying lately called Blessed Possibilities, and it's by Gary Douglas. And he's having a conversation about choice, which is another element of creation in conjunction with question, but bear with me here. This class participant is talking, and Gary said, the class participant says, hey, there's something else here. There's a weird gray area between knowing the energy of possibility and then he interrupts her and he goes, Gary said, it's not a gray area, it's black and white. You know what's possible. And instead of choosing what's possible, you try to create something that's going to get a result. You've already decided what the result is. You haven't questioned whether it's a greater result or a lesser result. You haven't asked, where is this going to lead me? If I choose this, where is it going to lead me? I keep telling you to ask, hey, where's this choice going to lead me? Guess what that is? That's a question. Hi, guys. But you have to be willing to be led. You have to be willing to be led. You're not willing to be led. You're only interested in being followed. Now, guys, this is like the quintessential business conversation, because just like all of you guys probably did when you first started your business, I spent the first however many years of my business trying to prove that I was a good facilitator, prove that I was a good coach, prove that I knew what I was doing. So all my websites, all my pages, all my shit was about me, explaining myself, proving myself. And finally, I think it was this year. I think I've been in business 4 years and doing okay financially, when it finally occurred to me that my business wasn't about me. I was actually creating this for you guys. And so that was like thing number one that changed dynamically. I changed my website. I changed my graphics. I started actually putting out into the world the invitation that I wanted to be for you guys and going, hey, maybe try this question, ask this thing, try this in your life. This is actually about the change that I'm aware of as possible that you guys can participate in. But it's not about me. But I spent the first however long getting followers, trying to be so interesting that people would follow me. And so many of us do that. So, but in actuality, your business or whatever it is you're creating in the world that you're calling your business isn't about you. It's about what you are aware of can be a reality in the world that you're inviting other people to. So what Gary's talking about in this small little section in this incredible book is about not talking to this lady about how she never questions what her choices are going to create. And I see this happen in business all the time, and I've done it tons, where, you know, I choose to put together a course in a particular way because I've decided that if I put it together in that particular way, it's going to create this fixed result. Well, it never does. Nothing ever is what you think it will be. No relationship ever is what you think it will be. That's called a projection. And projections can only create three things. You guys have heard me talk about this: separation, judgment, and rejection. So things never create what you think they're going to. They only ever create what they do. So you don't question your choice. Once you've decided something, we typically don't question that. We're like, I've decided that I need a website, you know, for example. Okay. So in that decision, you can't ask another question. There is no question. It's a decision, and you'll only get out of it what you've decided you'll get out of it, and probably less, because there's no willingness to actually be led by your curiosity into something that could be greater than that. See, we can only decide and conclude and judge things that based on past. So what questions do is they begin to open up the space of possibility that allows you to receive information that you can't cognitively get to. If your brain could lead you into $1 million, it would have done so already. And I'm telling you, the people that I know that have led themselves into millions of dollars, and that's just talking money for a second, did it. They don't even really know how they did it. Truthfully, if you talk to anybody that's led themselves into $1 million, they were just so busy being them wildly that they sort of accidentally created an empire. You know, like I watched this, I talked about this a little bit, but I watched this 3-part documentary on Bill Gates, Inside Bill's Mind. I highly recommend it. And that was sort of where the idea for this challenge came from, because, so I'm trying to stay on track a little bit. So I watched this documentary on Inside Bill's Mind, and it shows like the way it really showcases the way he functions, and he just functions extreme. And you guys might be able to relate to that. Like, I wonder if where in your worlds you function extreme, right? Like I have been this last week spending hours and hours and hours and hours putting together this challenge because I want it to be epic, and it is, and I'm proud of it, and I'm excited to put it into the world, right? But that comes from this like space in me where I want to put this time into, and I don't really care how long things take to create something great. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So it's kind of extreme, you know, I forgot I had a body for hours at a time, but there's a joy in that. And that people that have led themselves into millions of dollars, there's this intense joy in being the extremists that they are. And they extremely do something extremely well, and it happens to do extremely well, right? So did Bill Gates know that he was leading himself into a multi-billion-dollar empire? No. He just knew that he fucking needed to create software that worked for things, and he was very, very good at it, and he kept doing it. And then as it grew, he likes to excel. But he was constantly asking bigger questions, and that ties us around to the topic of this video. He was constantly asking bigger questions. He was creating something that was for the whole world, not just so that he could have the next dollar in his pocket, but so that he could transform the world of software. He could be the thing people had on their desktop, so much so that he got taken to court for being a monopoly. And a monopoly is where you have a monopoly on an industry. And he did essentially have a monopoly because what he created worked so well that everybody used it. And nobody could compete with how well the Microsoft suite of systems worked until, you know, all of us started using Apple. But why am I saying that? He wasn't functioning, he was functioning from a different space, a different set of questions. And as you watch this documentary, you'll see different facets of that, you know, as they start looking into his world and everything. One of the things he did is he took himself on think weeks and would literally just shove aside everything that he had going on, and he would read book after book after book after book about how the world works and just ask himself the important questions, like the questions that really moved the needle, not just for himself, but for everybody. Hi, Claire. Hi, Gigi. And so the challenge that I created really started, I created it as that space. I created it as, hey, listen, it's the creators in the world. It's those of us that are willing to know that we have capability and we know a different possibility. The artists, the creators of the world, that create the world. Everything, I mean, from the paintings on the walls, to the rugs, to the furniture, to the walls, to the houses, to the buildings we live in, every single fucking thing that we're surrounded by and wear was created by a creator. Glass, everything. My hair, right? The world that we live in exists because people were willing to see a different possibility. Asphalt exists because people were willing to see, the list is endless. And so that means there's an endless well of creation available, from how you create consciousness in the world to how you do body work to how you do etc., 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 etc. What do you want your life to be like? Not just from a self-interest point of view of like, I want to have enough money and I want to have a roof over my head and I want to have nice clothes. Okay, that's nice. What do you want your life to be like? Your living to be like? How do you want to be remembered in the world? And those, I guess, would be what I would categorize if I was going to the bigger questions. But you've got to start to look at, for you, is your life and your living and what you're creating interesting enough for you? And this really is what changed what I started asking for and choosing in the last year, and what I'm really choosing this year. You guys, we're about to have an epic year in Christel Crawford land. You are going to have so much to be able to choose from and play with, and things to add to your life from our Christel Crawford land over here. Why? Because I can. Because it's way more interesting to me to have millions of people engaged and playing with things and changing their lives with these tools than it is to have 5. But that came from me really asking, hey, what does it take to have a quantum leap? What does it take to do the quantum leap? I see these incremental changes, and if creating this business and creating, all of this in the world takes 30 years, 500 years, okay, fine, cool. But if I can ask a question that's gonna give me the awareness of what it would take to have a quantum leap, then I'm gonna fucking do that, because that's fun for me. And so I started really pulling into my world, like, hey, what would I like to ask for? If I can truly ask for anything, the universe is going to contribute to me, whatever I'm being, whatever it is that I'm choosing, whatever it is that I'm asking. The universe doesn't have a point of view. Consciousness doesn't have a point of view. Consciousness includes cockroaches and snakes and things that sting and things that eat things, right? And it includes all the green things and all the beautiful things. Like, consciousness includes all that. What do I want to have as my reality? What do I want to create in the world? And even if that's not in the shape of a business, what are the energies that I want to create in the world? And so it's asking all these different questions. Hey, what is success for me? Is what I'm currently doing enough for me? That's a great question. Is it enough for me? No. Is it ever really going to be enough for you? By the way, you're different. Nothing's ever really enough for you, which is, by the way, brilliant. When you look at Leonardo da Vinci, I'm going to fuck up how many things he was good at, because the list is so long, I can't even remember it. But Leonardo da Vinci was, an architect and a painter and a fucking, I don't even know what he was. He was a sculptor. He was all the art things, all the building things, he was an engineer, I think. He was a mathematician. He was a philosopher. He was what they call a Renaissance man, but what we call a humanoid. So was one thing ever enough for him? No. Why? Because his capacity is gigantic. And that's what I would ask you to look at in your world. How gigantic is your capacity, and are you using you? Are you asking yourself the questions that are going to tap you into the universes of awareness that you could actually choose to have and be? And if you're not, how curious could you get? Because here's the coolest thing about asking questions. Question is an element of creation. It's the first element. You start asking a question. That opens the door for the universe to contribute things to you. Awareness, information, stuff and things, conversations. Choice is another element of creation. You start choosing. And then you start, if you have a set of choices in front of you, you start asking, hey, will this choice actually create more? Yes or no? No, never mind. Will this choice create yes or no? Question again, right? These elements interplay with each other. Question, choice. Then that opens up the possibilities of 100 things. You make a choice, you get 10 more. We're going to use 10 in air quotes. 10 more possibilities open up. You ask a question, 10 more possibilities open up. So you begin creating for yourself this ever-expanding set reality, which isn't real and it's malleable at the same time. So you start to engage with and participate in the creation of something so different you can barely articulate it. We who try to articulate things do the best that we can with the words that we have, but it becomes this incredible space where you are then led by the energies of the questions you ask and the choices you're making. It's very much like a dance. It's very much like a dance. I haven't danced in a while, but I used to do a lot of country dancing and then swing dancing, and I love Latin dancing. I'm not great at it, but I love it. And one of my favorite things about dancing was the partner bit of it, where, he did this and you did this. And so you had to be so present with each other's bodies as to respond to the slightest bit of movement from your partner. You also had to really kind of know your shit, because to really dance well together, you both had to be incredibly good individually, but you had to be incredibly responsive and present together. And so dancing for me was always this, I loved it. It engaged, it made every bit of me happy. It made my brain happy. It made my, my receiving stuff happy. It made everything happy. All the sexual energies, I just loved it. But it's exactly the way creation is. Creation of anything is a dance. Now, most of the shit you're going to listen to out there about creating online business anyway, I don't know about all the businesses, but is very formulaic. And why? Because formulas are like the apple in the Garden of Eden. They look shiny and red and ripe and juicy, and it's like, if I eat this apple, I'm gonna have heaven, right? That's how formula. Finally, somebody to tell me what to do, because I've been trying and nothing's working, is generally where we're functioning from. But formulas can work. They can contain things that give you information about stuff and things, and they can work to a degree, but they never work exactly the way they're supposed to work, because they can't, because you're you. So what a lot of us do in the effort to find an answer to get the result that we want is we eliminate the awareness and the questions and the choices that we actually have available that will lead us to so much of a greater place than what we tried to do with that guy's formula over there. Now, the thing about all of this is you have to be willing to engage and fuck it up. And I think that's a lot of, if there was a why, us as in the mutant humanoid beings that we are, I think if there was a why that we don't want to do it, it's because we also desperately don't want to be wrong. And the only thing I can say to that is, if what you'd like to have is greater than what you have now, you got to be willing to be wrong. And, one of the tools you can use with that, if you want an access consciousness tool, is what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be to be as wrong as we refuse to be for all eternity, and everything that doesn't allow it times a godzillion, right, wrong, good, bad, puck, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And that is the clearing statement, and you can go to theclearingstatement.com for more information on it. But you can loop that over and over. Like, anywhere you're not willing to be something that would actually make your life greater, run a clearing around it. So circling this back around to why ask bigger questions. What is going to make and create life worth living for you? What is it? I've gotten to so many different points in the last 3-4 years that I've been fully engaged in creating this business full-time, as an entrepreneur. I've gotten to so many success points that I thought were like the pinnacle. And you guys have heard me talk about those. And now, money isn't a problem anymore. And it is coming in with more ease. And I do know how to generate more of it. And I can do these things. And I have all the, 3 years in, I've got all these things rolling. It's amazing. Life worth living, though, is so much farther beyond money. And it's so much farther beyond, having a successful email list. But it does include all those things. It includes all those things. Why? Because those are the ways that I get to engage with you guys. And I can't fucking create this world on my own. Hi. I need you. You need you. And we need our ability to be curious and our ability to outcreate what everybody else says is normal and everybody else says is enough and everybody else says is okay. In this reality, there's a very abnormal level of tolerance for mistreatment. There's an abnormal level of tolerance for using up the resources of the earth. There's an abnormal level of tolerance for abuse. There's an abnormal, skyrocketedly high amount of judgment on the planet right now. So it takes us that are willing to be different and have a different reality and use interesting point of view and use who does it belong to. It takes us standing up and going, hey, what would it take for this to be different? What would it take to, for bars, this incredible 32-point process, what would it take for those to be in schools everywhere? So that kids that were coming from abusive family, maybe they could come to school and actually have some peace and ease, Hey, what would it take for there to be a totally different reality around business in the world, for people to actually function from asking and receiving and choosing and really knowing they have choice, that they aren't powerless. Like, what would it take for that to be a functional reality, like the thing everybody's talking about? What would it take for consciousness really to be the dominant space? What would it take for our politicians to be actual statesmen, representing benevolent capitalism and being a strength and a voice for something that's actually great in the world? What would that take? The more of us that are willing to ask those questions and choose from and as that space, the more that becomes available to everybody. The 100th monkey syndrome is a reality. You guys know that story? Where there was a group of scientists on an island one day working with this group of monkeys and observing. They were observing this monkey group. And I don't know a ton about monkeys, so if I'm fucking up the facts, just forgive me. But they were observing the monkeys, and the monkeys did things in a certain way, and they ate in a certain way, and they hung out in a certain way, and all of them kind of did it very similarly. And then one day the scientists noticed this one particular monkey opening their food that they all ate in a different way. He just did it different that day. He, instead of banging it on a rock, he picked up a rock and he banged it on the food. He was the only monkey that did it. Stayed that way for a period of time, but then the scientists started noticing on this particular island a few other monkeys doing it different, and then a few other monkeys doing it different, and then it didn't take long before the whole island of monkeys was opening their food differently. And that was all well and good, and that was very interesting how something that had been clearly going on for a long time could change, and it did. But then what happened was there were same group of scientists were on a neighboring island. There was ocean between these islands with a similar group of monkeys on the other island who hadn't had contact with these monkeys. And those monkeys started doing it differently. And pretty soon all the monkeys on that group of island were opening their food differently because one monkey did it different. That is what's available to us if we're willing to ask and be led by the awareness that those questions create. Now, this is a skill and a practice, but it is one that I am demanding become a reality on planet Earth, and I will be its mouthpiece until I don't have a mouth. And my question for you is, and why? Why would I do it? Because for me, this is life worth living. If we are not, for me, if I'm not engaged in the creation of a totally different reality, I'm creating too small. You know, if I am not engaged in all the different elements that would make a different reality possible on this planet by inspiring the shit out of everybody I can get my hands on, then I'm creating too small. And it has nothing to do with me being great or me being on the face of everything or any of that. It's like, it's just not interesting for me. So when you begin to ask different questions, bigger questions that include the world, that include and start to have life worth living, you begin to inspire yourself. And you are the only one that can inspire you. Once you're inspired, you'll light the world on fire. But it's a continual creation of inspiration from you to you by the questions you ask and the choices you make, and you being willing to be led into what it is you don't know cognitively how to create. So what are you? What gift are you? What power are you? What do you have the capability to wonder about and ask and choose that none of us have, that you can now have access to? What would it take for you to tug into your world all of the things that you're demanding be different, that you can be the source of? You are the source of creation. Are you being that for you? Or are you being the source of destruction by judging yourself, negating what it is you ask for, you know? And so I'm going to wrap up. I want to invite you to the Awareness Challenge. It's a free group on Facebook. I'm actually going live in there in like 3 minutes. And we're going to talk about the core, what I'm calling the core challenge. It's a clearing from Gary Douglas that I took out of a book he does. And I just pulled it out and I'm like, hey guys, we need to do this. And he says, do this 30 times a day for 30 days. Because it goes like this. It's like, what would it take for me to be willing to live the energy of what I'd like my life to be? And the thing is about your life is that your life, you are not an island. The way you choose your life to be affects everybody. We are in oneness. We're in consciousness. That's what's real. So what would it take for you to be willing to live the energy of what you'd like your life to be so that it can show up for you in totality? And everything that doesn't allow it, and all the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and the no sex you're using to absolutely refuse and reject your life. And the energy you'd like your life to be, you destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So come join me if you want to do that. And keep your eyes out for this Relentless Profit 5-Day Awareness Challenge because it is epic. It's my favorite so far, and it will invite you into a different space with the questions. So ask yourself questions that inspire you. Go looking for what those could be. Go find the people that are doing something bigger in the world so that you can find out, hey, how are they functioning? What are they choosing that I haven't chosen yet? What could I be that's different? And create to inspire yourself. I adore you. If this was a gift, please share it. And I'll see you guys in the Awareness Challenge.